is another Wednesday evening, and I must say I am glad to be here. Hope I can say same for you, because together we shall go through stories making the rounds in the country and beyond. Tonight, we shall again be touching on security issues as the Katsina State Governor came calling on Mr. President. Of course, schools have thrown their doors open for students of exit classes. What is the situation like on day 2 of resumption? We have some updates. Further deregulation of the petroleum downstream subsector is here with the new ex-depot price. We'll tell you all about it. We have the latest information on Edo governorship election, the latest information on the coronavirus pandemic, and other interesting stories. So as usual, I ask you to stay with me as I bring you up to speed on happenings in the country and beyond. After all, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. I am Fatima Umar Buba, and this is NewsExtra. You're welcome. President Muhammad Buhari has received the 6th interim report on the current phase of the coronavirus lockdown, expressing satisfaction with a high sense of professionalism, commitment and patriotism being exhibited by members of the PTF and other frontline workers in the task of containing the pandemic. PTF Chairman and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, who presented the report, said despite the significant number of patients recently discharged and drop in the nation's infection rate, Nigeria is yet to get out of the woods. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
The report submitted to President Muhammadu Buhari by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 is a capsulation of how far Nigeria has come in the coronavirus containment drive since the outbreak of the pandemic in February this year.
We received very encouraging words of commendation as a task force. He's happy about what we're doing, and he believes that our efforts have tremendously assisted in creating the awareness, mobilizing the civilian population, sensitizing the people about the need to take personal responsibilities.
Records show that in the last 1 month, for instance, which saw a global increase in terms of infections, COVID-19 cases in Nigeria rose from 28,000 on the 4th of July to over 44,000 on Tuesday, August 4th.
What message does that convey to us as a people and as a nation is that we are not out of the woods. The pandemic is on. The virus is ravaging. With the increase in the numbers, there are increases in fatalities.
Although details on President Buhari's decisions on the way forward will be made public on Thursday, the PTF chairman, Bosgida Mustafa, gives an insight into what Nigerians will expect in the next phase of the COVID-19 lockdown.
1 has to deal with movement. 2 has to deal with labor and industries. 3 has to deal with community activities. We are conscious of our responsibility as a task force to have a balance of lives and livelihood, and to see that even where we have allowed for openings, that the protocols that we have put in place are properly implanted. We are encouraging the state governments to ensure that within those quarantine laws, where they have prescribed penalties for appearing in public spaces without masks, there is a sanction. It's the enforcement that has largely been lacking. And my appeal is that the subnationals should ensure enforcement.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 appealed to Nigerians not to take for granted any further relaxation of the lockdown, saying countries that opened up too quickly have had cause to shot back. Nigeria, it says, wouldn't want such a situation to happen here, and therefore insist that the citizenry take personal responsibility for their actions by strictly adhering to the COVID-19 safety advisory. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Issues relating to the challenges of security in the northwest sub-region, as well as the ongoing efforts at containing the situation for sustainable peace, growth and development, dominated discussions as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience to Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again tells us about it.
So far, the situation is under control in Katsina, and I believe in most part of Northwest, but it is not over until it is over.
Ways and means of getting the situation permanently under control informed this interactive engagement between Governor Aminu Bello Masari and President Muhammadu Buhari. During the meeting, which lasted about 45 minutes, the ongoing military operations in the area were discussed and suggestions given on the best way forward.
The hope is that the military, including the police and other security agencies, have been given a marching order to control the situation by all means. With the current operation going on, I am sure before the end of this rainy season, people can go back to normal life. It's a task that must be done.
The government, Governor Masari said, cannot allow a situation similar to that of the Northeast develop in the Northwest sub-region.
The people living in the rural communities will testify that yes, no situation is impossible, especially to a willing and determined mind. So I do believe that we can conquer these bandits, get the land back in total peace. Then state governments and local governments will now move in, especially in the area of education, then access, then water supply, then their means of livelihood, which mainly agriculture and livestock.
Governor Masari used the opportunity to felicitate with the president on behalf of the people of Katsina State on the peaceful celebration of the Greater Eid amidst the coronavirus pandemic. From the State House, Adamu Sambu.
Now, festivities such as the recent Eid al-Kabir celebration comes and goes, leaving people with memories, especially sweet ones. Unfortunately, it was not to be for people of Rijau, as they mourn 7 ladies who died in a hairdressing salon on the eve of the Eid al-Kabir festival. Mukhtar Abubakar Wowo visited Rijau, about 300 kilometers from Mina, the Niger state capital, and files in this report.
Rijau is the headquarters of Rijau local government area of Niger State. This is the saloon in which the victims of the generator fume, including the hairdresser, have said to have locked themselves up the fateful night they lost their lives to suffocation. The lifeless bodies of the 7 victims, who were young girls aged between 13 and 18, except for the hairdresser, who was a mother carrying 5 months pregnancy, were recovered in the morning of Eid al-Kabir day.
I enter shop, I shake anybody. I see that 7 people, they die. I look up, I see my 2 daughters, they die.
My daughter went out sound and healthy to make her hair, but we don't know what happened to her over there. I don't have the details of what happened to my daughter. All I know is that it rained throughout that night.
The General Hospital Tunga Magajia confirms the incident.
In fact, even before they brought them, the community were already causing problems. They didn't even want the police to bring them to the hospital in the first instance. So when they brought them, we certified them dead, and they took them for burial.
Like some other respondents, the council chairman, Rijau local government, Bello Bako, expresses uncertainty as to the cause of their death.
As I'm talking to you now, up to now, we have not actually made the cause of the death of the 7 female, because we have been receiving different versions. I am not mistaken, even the way we have 7 female, I think there should be 8, because 1 is a pregnant woman. They say there are some signs of struggling in the face of this female, which they don't know the cause of those marks.
A traditional ruler of the community refutes the insinuation that it took his intervention to calm some youths who insisted the chairman must see the two survivors before taking them to the hospital.
No, that didn't happen at all. There was no any person alive in that place.
Spokesperson to the Niger State Police Command speaks on the incident.
Preliminary investigation revealed that the ladies passed the night at the salon for hairdressing purpose. We are not concluding that whether the generator caused the death. We have to wait for medical reports before we can confirm on that. But by and large, as it stands, investigation is ongoing. As soon as we got the medical details, then we can be able to link what really happened.
NTA shall bring you updates as issues unfold. Mukhtar Abubakaru, NTA News.
Thank you so much, Abubakar. Very, very unfortunate one there. There are indications that immediate action is needed to save some of the federal highways being threatened by torrential rains in Jigawa State. Just Tuesday morning, hundreds of motorists were stranded as Gwaram Bridge linking northwestern part with Jigawa and Kano states was submerged. Over to Ibrahim Sani for a situation report.
Motorists flying Gwaram Basirka Road, which connects Jigawa State with northeastern states of Bauchi, Gombe, Taraba, and Adamawa, among other states, could not forget it so easily. The flood waters, which covers the entire road, affecting traffic and other vehicular movement. The flood water, which lasted for hours, however, eventually receded, leaving behind several damages on the road, with motorists compelled to using one lane for safety.
We are appealing to the relevant authority to come to our aid.
Even farmlands were not spared by the flood, as hundreds of hectares of land under cultivation have been submerged. The state government has, while sympathizing with the victims, pledged to build additional culverts in addition to devising ways to control the dangerous erosion in Sabor Bagdaza in Gwaram, threatening people in the area. A team of experts led by Jigawa State Commissioner of Works has since inspected the affected areas with a view to ascertaining the level of damage for necessary intervention.
Really, a lot of efforts have been committed in the construction of roads like this one by both the federal and state governments. But there is need to take more measures as the rains continue to wreak havoc. A stitch in time, they say, saves nine. In Duse, Ibrahim Sani, NTA News.
Sure, a stitch in time saves a nine. Then to education matters now. Safety and academic performance of students in an era of coronavirus pandemic are some of the issues agitating the minds of many in the education sector in Ondo State as schools reopen. Olubukola Aduo went round schools in Akure and reports that some have hit the ground running as academic activities have commenced.
The gates of most secondary schools in Akure, the Ondo State capital, have been flung open. Happy and anxious students in their final year classes stream into the previously empty compounds of their various schools, excited to be back after 4 months. The last time this kind of scene played out in Ondo State was about 4 months ago. Now that these students have resumed, they have less than 2 weeks to prepare for a major examination. For them and their teachers, it is a race against time. Daniel Adejumo, one of the SS3 students, says although not much of studying was done during the compulsory holiday, he is ready now to face the challenge.
I got the nice subjects. I am going to revise everything, read them very well. All the aspects I know that I'm facing challenges, take it to my teachers and make sure that they teach me very well.
The coaching for the 2 weeks is going to be very, very intensive.
Equally of far more concern to the government and the school authorities is the safety and good health of the students who are probably oblivious of the grave danger of being back in school in this era of coronavirus pandemic. Government directives have now made the use of face masks, hand washing and well-spaced sitting arrangements in classrooms mandatory.
We are prepared and the school has been cleared, has been fumigated.
The state government says it will not compromise these protocols and has therefore closed down 2 schools for taking the guidelines on COVID-19 with levity.
We have created a platform, so we don't have to start calling. So as soon as I open my iPad, other teams will be reporting. Then the planning is coordinating. So if there is any irregularity, planning will alert me.
Daniel Adejumo is among the 21,572 students that will be writing the Senior Secondary School Certificate Examination in Ondo State. In Akure, Olubukola Aduwo, NTA News.
And from Akura, we'll take you to Port Harcourt, where all public and private schools exit classes in the state have resumed in preparation for their final examination. This comes a day after unity schools in Nigeria resumed. Andy Barbary Sidoma Nweke reports.
The first day of resumption had students cleaning and making the environment conducive in preparation for academic activities. Although the number of students present was not appreciable, adequate arrangements have been put in place to accommodate all students participating in the examination.
Officials from the Ministry of the Environment, Ministry of Education, and other agencies came here to fumigate the environment. We are ready.
We have the buckets, we have the sanitizers. We are also complying with the government, the social distancing.
During this period of lockdown, we are preparing ourselves for the exam.
When I was told that school will resume anytime soon, so I have to boost up the way I read.
Earlier on Tuesday, 4th August, Unity Schools in River State reopened in compliance with federal government's reopening directive.
This time, we will do a lot of revision. We have put in place afternoon prep.
Schools are expected to adhere strictly to all guidelines and conditions stipulated to fight against COVID-19 by the PTF on COVID-19, WHO, and NCDC. In Port Harcourt, Dibabari Siedmaweke, NTA News.
The need for continuous disinfection of schools, in addition to observing all protocols by the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and the NCDC, was re-echoed on Good Morning Nigeria. This is as exiting classes resume school nationwide. Then guests on the program who applauded the decision to reopen schools in phases also insist on close monitoring on compliance. Lydia Sampson has the report.
The debate on reopening of schools came to an end with the partial reopening of schools for exiting classes, that is Primary 6, JSS 3 and SS 3. Critical players have committed to the adherence to all protocols, especially physical distance. The girls are unanimous that it is a collaborative effort that should start with the parents inculcating in their words the realities of the new normal.
We are doing a symbiotic relationship with our Parent Teachers Association of the Federal Capital Territory. And I don't think any school or any school administrator would like to put the risk of the students and staff. So all necessary things will have to be put in place.
It is a wise decision to have the resumption in phases. So the exit classes are the ones that have come in. So there are enough empty classrooms to spread the students to make sure that the social distance aspect is not compromised.
The girls reiterated the need for non-contact hand washers and sanitizers to mitigate possible exposure of students.
The pandemic has defined a new path for us to follow. And if we are going to really survive now and thereafter, because there's going to be a new trend now, I think all stakeholders in the sector of education have to wake up.
The situation is an eye-opener. I am not sure that the system will go back the way it was in the pre-COVID-19 era. So if parents are desirous for the safety of their children.
They insist that the procurement of personal protective equipment by schools and parents to sustain the entire school sessions, as well as information about the health of every student, must be sustained. They are optimistic that with stringent compliance to all the protocols, mitigating the spread of coronavirus in schools is possible. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Secondary schools in Lagos have reopened ahead of the final examination by senior secondary school students, which begins on the 17th of August, and to ensure that students are not victims of vehicles for the spread of coronavirus. Strict guidelines have been stipulated by the federal government. Ajola Komiakiri monitored several schools in the metropolis.
To public and private schools revealed that students who are preparing to write their final examinations were in high spirits. Pascal Ahamisi is one of the many who must observe the COVID-19 protocols set up at his school before gaining entrance.
The holiday was fun for me, but I'm happy to see my friends and get back to learning and write this exam that we have.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I'm able to write my WAEC this 2020, not waiting for next year's section.
Though apprehensive over the safety of their children, parents, however, say they are relieved that students are back in school.
Some of them don't actually take their studies seriously within the period. Only when parents continue to chase them here and there before they know that they want to read. But now that school has resumed, at least that spirit that school has resumed, we actually made them to be serious and prepare for their exams.
We came for a meeting, and when I saw what was put in place by the school, I was very impressed.
At the Air Force Secondary School Ikeja, Group Captain Babatunde Oguntunde took NTA News crew on a tour of safety facilities in place. The same was replicated at the Maryland Secondary School, where students were compulsorily sanitized before checking in.
It is now mandatory for all students of our school to come with pocket hand sanitizer, personal use. You must come with your face mask, sky blue color, and you must come with your tissue paper on daily basis.
We have tried to put a lot of educative signage in the school to create the awareness that this pandemic is real.
Meanwhile, the Lagos state government says it is not resting on its oars in the quest to interrupt the spread of COVID-19. In Lagos, Adeola Komiakiri, NTA News.
And from Just Plateau State, we hear that schools have also reopened for exit classes to enable the students prepare for the West African School Certificate Examination. Rinret Silvanus Lot reports that all schools visited are complying with COVID-19.
This series of deliberation on whether it is safe for Nigerian students to resume school due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government and Ministry of Education okayed the resumption of exiting classes to prepare for their forthcoming examinations. Going round some public schools, it was observed that though the revision classes had started with a roster to guide the lessons and the teachers on ground, only a few students were present. The situation here at Government Secondary School Township, as captured by our lenses, is that of rigorous teaching going on. Safety measures of hand wash, temperature checks, wearing of face masks were in place. On whether schools and governments have followed the guidelines sent in by the Federal Ministry of Education for student resumption, the key players speak.
Must wear face masks, including all teachers, which you have seen in the classes now. Apart from that, we've bought buckets where we put water with sanitizers and we mix detergents. They come in, when we measure you with a thermometer, the next thing, you wash your hands and then you put on the face mask and you go into the classes. We have also fumigated the whole school.
It is a must that all the measures given must be put in place with monitoring and supervision. And boarding schools are to resume before Sunday. From Friday to Sunday, they should be in schools. And the day schools are to be there. And lectures must start by 10th of this month.
The situation, however, was different at a private school visited. According to them, nothing has been left to chance in ensuring the safety of their students.
The students will have to now be searched by the health and the security team of the school. As you can see, these white flags, they are they are acting as guides to students as they maintain physical distancing.
The watchword is for all to play their parts in ensuring the success of the program. In Jos, Rinret Silvanus Lot, NTA News.
I will take you to Makurdi, the Benue State, where the Benue State Teaching Service Board says it has discovered 561 ghost workers among its workforce. This is contained in a report submitted to Governor Samuel Ortom by the committee set to screen the personnel of the board at the Government House. Makurdi. Charles Abba has the details.
Chairman of the Screening Committee of Benue State Teaching Service Board, Dr. Frank Yungun, said in the course of the screening exercise, 4,473 were identified as legitimate staff of the board against the 5,034 on its payroll. He stressed that the exercise also identified those who died but their names are on the payroll, those overdue for retirement but are still in service, those who left for other ministries but are still drawing salaries from the board, and those involved in certificate forgery, age and other manipulations.
We also have some 11 pending cases which we've not finished tackling it.
Governor Samuel Ortom, who expressed satisfaction with the work done, set up an implementation team headed by the Commissioner for Education, Professor Dennis Itiavia.
So we have the specific names of those who are involved in this fraudulent activities of siphoning government funds.
The screening committee recommended, among other things, that staff should have their pay points at their duty stations for accountability, control and self-discipline. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
Up ahead on NewsExtra, one of nature's best gifts that guarantees child survival that mothers as custodians must never neglect. Plus, beyond a delicious pot of egusi soup comes its viability as a money spinner. Details shortly. Please stay.
Since 1971, Nigeria's foremost human capital development institution, the Industrial Training Fund, ITF, has been at the forefront of equipping Nigerians with skills for national growth. Today's ITF has repositioned and refocused its programs, forging new partnerships locally and internationally to effectively deliver on its mandate. With 37 area offices and 5 industrial skills training centers across the country, ITF is pushing to reduce unemployment by providing relevant technical and vocational skills for employability and entrepreneurship in diverse trades and crafts. Whether you're a public or private organization seeking to improve the skills of your personnel or an individual looking to acquire skills that will increase your chances of employment or even to help start your own business, today's ITF has a program for you. Speak to us today. Contact our area offices nationwide or visit our website www.itf.gov.ng. ITF, developing the nation's human resource.
Is a very tough guy who knocks out every opponent, but now he's been knocked down by malaria.
Amatem Soft Gel.
Amatem Soft Gel makes treating malaria easy. Amatem Soft Gel is a game changer.
Oh, the opponent is down. Amatem Soft Gel are good to combat malaria for body.
Available for adults and children. Say no to malaria. Yes to life.
Welcome back. The downstream subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, the Petroleum Products Marketing Company, PPMC, has announced a new ex-depot price of PMS, also known as petrol, at 138 naira 62 kobo per litre. The price, which takes effect from the 5th of August, is in line with new market fundamentals following the deregulation of the petroleum. The ex-depot price is the price at which depot owners sell the commodity to retail outlets. The ex-depot price per litre of petrol is normally around 15 naira lower than the pump price, as the marketers would add cost of transportation from the depots to their retail outlets, as well as other costs and marketers' margin, among others. A statement signed by Mohammed Bello, manager sales, the PPMC, gave details of the new price regime. The Federal Executive Council in July approved the National Policy on Solid Waste Management and National Forest Policy to achieve effective waste disposal and sustainable management of forest resources. To enhance implementation, monitoring and enforcement of the policies, the federal government is interfacing with states to buy into the policies and have them domesticated. Onenge Fineface reports.
Seeking the collaboration of states is a move by the federal government intended to address peculiar regional environmental challenges and bridge existing gaps between national and subnational governments in terms of project implementation and feedback mechanisms. Environmental challenges like oil pollution, coastal and urban erosion, degradation of mangroves ecosystem, and loss of biodiversity are some issues unique to the South region and formed the key thrust of the meeting between the Commissioners of Environment in the region and the Minister of State Environment.
The concept the state government is running is that the implementation of the artisanal refineries, which we call coal-fire, we are putting them together to form cooperative societies, and these cooperative societies will now put their funds together and have a stake.
Now, current efforts to mitigate environmental concerns in the South-South, like the planned National Mangroves Restoration Project and identification and upgrade of sites to the status of marine protected areas, as well as synergy in the implementation of the Ogoni cleanup exercise, were considered in the meeting.
Because in ending coal fire, we'll have to find alternative means of livelihood for our young men of the Niger Delta, and the modular refinery is the way to go. But before then as well, we'll have to talk about the remediation and how to stop the oil spillage, because in them doing the coal fire, they actually damage the pipelines.
States in the region are expected to increase sensitization and awareness campaigns to address flood and erosion in line with resolutions made in the meeting. In Abuja, Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
Now, still on environmental matters, have you ever heard of the statement from waste to wealth? Well, same waste can lead to diseases, environmental hazards, and even death if not properly managed. That is why, to sustain safe environments, especially in this wet season, Nigerians are strongly advised to adopt integrated waste management approach in the handling of their daily waste products. Environmental experts who are at the center of this advice also advocates enlightenment programs to provide households and industries with guidelines for proper waste management. Ifoma Aikoji will take up the matter from here.
For as long as man exists, waste will remain a part of people's lives. While some produce more waste than others, everybody produces it every day as leftover foods, empty containers and packs, as well as other unwanted materials. Studies have shown that the higher the population, the rate of economic development and urbanization, the greater the volume of unwanted materials, hence the increasing tons of waste generated across the nation. In Akwa Ibom State, for instance, the government, through the Waste Management Agency, is always on its toes to ensure the evacuation of the heaps of waste generated daily in the state capital and its environs.
The government has been trying, especially in areas of evacuation of waste, but we're having problems with what happens to the waste after it has been evacuated.
We are not doing well at all when it comes to waste management. A scenario in the market, if it rains, the women will be coming out with their brooms and sweeping the waste into the drainage. People are in their cars, they're eating their banana, they're throwing it outside the vehicles. Indiscriminate dumping of refuse everywhere.
Environment experts prescribe the introduction of integrated waste management strategy that will encourage the concept of turning waste to wealth while the environment remains safe for everyone.
With that system in place, the biodegradable will be treated. It will be allowed to decompose, provide the ambient, environmental factors. It will decompose. They can then use that to produce organic manure.
International best practices, there's a way they build dump sites now. It is not the regular, landfill where you just go, you dump your waste and all that. And since we are looking at recycling too, we have discussed with certain companies. There's a company that's supposed to change waste to power, to energy. There's another company that's coming waste to fertilizer and all that.
Intensive waste management, according to the environment managers, can be achieved if individuals and organizations are educated to align with the basic principles of waste collection, separation, transportation, treatment, and disposal. As government and related agencies strive to improve on their integrated waste management strategies, environmental experts have called on all Nigerians to develop environmentally responsible ways of handling and disposing waste for a safe and healthy environment. In Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State capital, Ifoma Aikoche, NTA News.
Solid minerals, oil and gas, which makes up the extractive industry, will in the interest or the nearest future take preeminence in Nigeria's economy if legislators adopt toolkits developed for members to ensure effective legislation on the extractive industry in Nigeria. This was made known at a virtual validation of the toolkits put together by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies and the Nigerian Natural Resources Charter, I beg your pardon, for the Nigerian Parliament. John Yaku has the details.
Africa and indeed Nigeria are blessed with deposits of natural resources such as oil and gas, as well as solid minerals that, if properly managed, could alleviate poverty and spur economic growth and social development. However, without proper legislation for an enabling environment for sustainable and accountable management of the sectors, these resources cannot transform into the desired economic development for the people. This underpins the collaboration between the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies and the Nigerian Natural Resources Charter to develop a toolkit for members of the National Assembly on effective legislation of the extractive industry in Nigeria.
The toolkit principally draws from the Natural Resource Charter that reflect global good practices of parliamentary oversight of the extractive industries, including what Parliament can do together with the executive.
Falling oil prices, increased borrowing, stalled economic activities have all put tremendous pressure on the Naira and, of course, the Nigerian economy. To recover, it is imperative that legislative reforms are expedient.
Stakeholders at the validation agreed on the value of the toolkit, which they describe as instrument for development, especially at this critical time of economic diversification.
I believe this provides a very good opportunity for the National Assembly to manage the industry, to make the laws, the policies, and at the same time regulate and have a very good oversight.
We are happy that this is happening, and we extend our goodwill, our congratulations and commendation to the two organizations that is on top of this.
The final validated document of the toolkit at this meeting will be transmitted to the leadership of the National Assembly for consideration. In Abuja, John Yaku, NTA News.
In the meantime, the creative intelligence of the youthful population in Nigeria is gradually becoming clearer to key players as one of the major resources that is grossly underutilized in meeting the desire of massive economic engagement, as well as the promotion of self-reliance. Guests on NTA's Tuesday Live captured the present reality of the Nigerian youth and proposed elaborate platforms for inclusive youth participation in navigating the roadmap for sustainable progress. Abubakar Usman Akwanga has the report.
Sustained commitment of federal government in building enterprising platforms for Nigerian youth to leverage on is strengthening structures and capacity for self-upliftment within the aspiration of national growth and development. This level of engagements across social investment programs and other empowerment windows is bringing succor to many youth in the realm of labor market and boosting small-scale businesses in the country. Guests on the program say the recent approval of 75 billion naira youth investment fund targeted at empowering 500,000 youths will create a clear roadmap and serve as a catalyst for addressing insecurity and other forms of national crises, slowing the pace of national development.
We need to move from empowerment to investing directly in our youth. And the AFDB set up a donor fund to invest in the youth in Africa. We've seen AU do the same. About 7 other African countries have done the same.
I'm excited that about 75 billion is anticipated to be expended within the span of 3 years.
They say as youths, the responsibility of recreating wealth out of the fund is non-negotiable, and prudent management of resources for planning and execution of business proposals should assume uncompromising posture in the interest of the country.
How do we manage the implementation in such a way that it's going to be seamless?
Youth Investment Fund is another opportunity for private sector people that have been doing this privately now to put the funding here or to have a conversation with the Ministry of Youth.
It was also submitted that the participation of youth in the entire process is a short ticket for the actualization of a long-term aspiration towards the realization of potentially viable society where the organized private sector strives with youth as integral part of the system. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
Let's talk about health now. Breast milk versus artificial milk or baby formula. There is no longer any question as to which one is best for the baby. And so scaling up breastfeeding practices to almost universal level could prevent an estimated 823,000 annual deaths of children below 24 months. This, the Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire, knows and said. At this year's Breastfeeding Week, he also noted that obesity rates are 15 to 30% lower in breastfed babies compared to formula-fed ones. Basi Itaigban tells us more as the world celebrates 2020 Breastfeeding Week.
Breastfeeding is environmentally friendly. In contrast to formula feeding, breastfeeding, experts say, does not waste scarce resources or create pollution. Rather, its benefits are enormous.
Our commitment to promoting and supporting breastfeeding is resolute and is to address threats which unwholesome marketing of breast milk substitutes poses to optimal breastfeeding practices.
The effects of COVID-19 pandemic on breastfeeding practice in Nigeria was also brought to the fore.
The WHO recommends that all mothers, including those with suspected or confirmed COVID-19, be encouraged to initiate and continue breastfeeding their babies.
What does this tell us? It tells us that we need to make deliberate effort to design messages that are very clear so that our mothers will know that even with COVID-19, they can breastfeed their children.
The Minister of Women Affairs, Paul Ntalin, made a case for nursing mothers, especially at workplaces.
Organizations are also encouraged to establish daycare centers in their workplaces to ensure that nursing mothers who are working continue to breastfeed their babies even after resumption from maternity leave.
This year's theme, Support Breastfeeding for a Healthier Planet, experts say, is a strong advocacy for collaborative efforts at ensuring improved health for mother and child, as well as protecting the environment from pollution and degradation. Basi Taipa, NTA News.
There is one agri produce popular with cooks, especially for soup. It comes with high nutritional value. It happens to be in season now in markets in north-central Nigeria. Apart from its tastiness, it is highly profitable as a business, and it also promotes government's vision of food security. Well, here is Hamza Musa Makarfi with the success story of this produce, making waves amongst local farming communities of Nasarawa State.
Let me quickly show you something that you may hardly differentiate because they are of the same species. This is egusi, and this is watermelon, the very sweet one.
Catherine Andrew, who chose to plant egusi as her favorite crop, takes me round a small-based plot of land few kilometers away from Lafia, the state capital. Her efforts at subsistence level, which relies on family labor, helps to consolidate the gains of melon production in Nasarawa State and by extension contribution to national product. She appreciates Mother Nature for a bountiful harvest after a month of toiling and unpredictable rainfall pattern at the beginning of the season and impact of COVID-19 on the sector. In the value chain, the women are a force to be reckoned with in the laborious processes of extracting the seed, washing and drying. In fact, for Fatima Muhammadu, the expectations are high, she tells me, as demand for the product will surely bring in profit. Aliyu Agyo, farm owner, says bag of melon, depending on the quality, goes for between 18 and 20,000 naira now in the market and will hit more than 70,000 naira or more in the coming months. According to findings, in addition to Nasarawa, which ranks second in output after Niger State, 19 other states also have the comparative advantage. Original average, Nigeria accounts for 65% production in Africa among countries of Togo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, and Cameroon. Melon crop specialist Isaac Ogara of Nasarawa State University says more research participation is key towards developing egusi as an international commodity to help Africa's food production and industrial growth.
Can promote it as much as we're promoting beniseed, as much as we're promoting yam or any other crop.
Egusi, many things roll into one, highly profitable, nutritious, and as an important source of raw material, sparks an idea to grow more with the government support while raising demand to achieve prosperity in Nigeria. In Lafia, Hamza Musa Makarifi, NTA News.
Well, that shot of egusi soup just reminded me of the lunch I had today. I ate egusi. When we come back from this next break we are about to take, we shall bring you trending stories around the coronavirus pandemic, including Nasarawa as a litmus test for the conduct of elections under the new normal. I guess you are as curious to know how it is going to turn out like I am. Good to know you're still with us on NewsExtra. On health and safety of Nigerians, the federal government says it intends to examine every possible option in the development and distribution of a vaccine against the COVID-19 disease, emphasizing that the health and safety of Nigerians is a priority. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
During a meeting held virtually with representatives of the BNT 162 COVID-19 vaccine candidate on the progress of the vaccine development around the world, including Africa, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government will continue to engage and intend to look at every possible option from all manufacturers of good vaccine, stating that the government wants to do the very best for the people in this regard. Several questions about the COVID-19 vaccine candidate asked, including how quickly can Nigeria get the vaccine once it's safely ready? Also, the Vice President wants the country to be first considered in the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine when it's eventually ready. Spokesperson for the promoters of the BNT 162 vaccine candidate, Subar Olayinka, says although the vaccine trials are not going on in Nigeria currently, But in parts of the African continent, it would be entering the third phase, having concluded the first two phases. Health Minister Osagie Ehanire notes that the federal government would consider quality, appropriate volume, and how well and quick a vaccine can be delivered to Nigeria in deciding which manufacturer to make the supply. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
All the efforts made so far by INEC for safe conduct of elections during COVID-19 will be put to test this Saturday in Nasarawa State. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu has therefore moved to Nasarawa State because the success or otherwise of this election is a litmus test for the Edo and Ondo governorship elections. Mayor Ogidi reports.
So you have to explain what we have here.
It is indeed a rare privilege, a state constituency by-election, having the presence of the INEC chairman, courtesy of an election coming at a crucial point in time. The INEC boss has been out of the TV screen for quite some time, but getting it right with the 10-point document on the conduct of elections during the COVID-19 era has brought him back in front of the flash bulbs. Theory time is now over. Saturday, 8th of August 2020 is a day of practicals for INEC, and the laboratory is Nasarawa Central State Constituency by-election. Discussions held with the two political parties participating and COVID-19 protective kits for the election impressive. But behind the smile of the INEC chairman is a disturbing reality.
No face mask, no voting, but there is need for clarification on this. The Commission is not insisting on surgical face masks. Any face covering will do as the voter approaches the inner cordon.
Now today I'm calling on them that we should come and strictly about the kind of advice and the education that they had about the COVID-19 process.
They should not allow a system where they're leaking.
Away from the Nasarawa Central State Constituency election, the INEC chairman also spoke on the ongoing campaigns in Edo State.
We are carefully monitoring what is happening in Edo and also Ondo of the situation, particularly in Edo State. We may have to call a meeting immediately, not only of the candidates and parties, but also of the campaign councils.
Good to go for Nasarawa Central State polls, but worried over Edo governorship elections, so returning to the office for a peace-building move.
The Labour Party says it is against the action of the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, in its resolve to sue the federal government on the issue of the continuous stay of the service chiefs. National chairman of the party, Abdulsalam Abdul Qadir, stated this at a media briefing in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf has the report.
The national chairman of the Labour Party and member of the steering committee of the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, formed during the build-up to the 2019 general elections, is frowning at the action taken by an individual to sue service chiefs in the name of the coalition CUPP.
This decision, as well as many others taken by this individual, has not been born out of consultation among members, but a decision exclusively his. This habit therefore begs the question why he does not take his own political party rather than an organization comprising other political party entities.
Political parties affected by the latest deregistration exercise by INEC, he explains, should desist from parading themselves as members of the CUPP. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
And 304 new cases of coronavirus infections have been confirmed in Nigeria. That is from the figure the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, announced late last night. The FCT leads the daily chart with 90 cases, followed by Lagos with 59 cases, Ondo has 39, Taraba 18, Rivers 17, Borno 15, Adamawa 12, and Oyo 11. Other states on the chart are Delta with 9 cases, Edo 6, while Bauchi, Kwara, Ogun, and Oshun have 4 cases each. Bayelsa, Plateau, and Niger have 3 cases of the virus. Nasarawa has 2, while Kano has a new case of the virus. And here is the report.
The world is seeing a rapid rise in the number of COVID-19 fatalities. Since the 20th of July 2020, the death toll has increased by more than 100,000. Currently, the total number of persons who have died from COVID-19 globally has exceeded 700,000. More than 160,000 in the US, with Brazil accounting for nearly 100,000 and Mexico third highest with 48,000. As at 6 p.m., statistics by Worldometer reveal that there are now 18,818,243 cases, out of which 12,004,498 have recovered. In Nigeria, 44,433 cases have been confirmed, 31,851 cases discharged, and 910 persons have died. Continent-wide, Africa has 986,212 cases, 21,193 deaths, and 659,280 recovered patients. In South Africa, some 24,000 health workers have contracted coronavirus. 181 of the number have died. South Africa is the hardest hit country on the continent, accounting for more than half the cases. In Asia, test results for a man suspected of being North Korea's first coronavirus case has returned inconclusive. But a World Health Organization official reports that authorities have quarantined more than 3,000 primary and secondary contacts. In the meantime, clinical trials on humans have begun in China for a potential coronavirus vaccine developed by German pharmaceutical group BioNTech with Chinese company Fosun Pharma. The companies in a statement said 72 participants have received their first dose following approval for the phase 1 trial from Chinese regulatory authorities. And that's a global update on COVID-19. Thanks for watching. I am Joyce Ometu.
With the prevalence of coronavirus pandemic, face mask has become the new normal with personal protective equipment. Many people make preferences while some use the face mask, others use the face shield. Correspondent Maureen Leo Ajam reports that as trendy as it may seem to go about with face shields, health experts warn users to wear face masks also.
A face shield is simply a curved plastic or plexiglass panel that can be worn over the face for the protection of the eyes, nose, and mouth. The use of face shields has become more prominent since the early days of the pandemic, and today, many people see face shields as ideal if they must prevent the dreaded coronavirus. Why?
NCDC is always advising that this is to protect the nose and probably when you cough the mouth and all that. And they warn about taking your hand to the face, touching your hands and all that. So if you wear just this, there's a tendency that even when the virus or the particles comes, it will definitely maybe touch your face.
I prefer this one than the nose mask because I can still breathe well. But the nose mask doesn't make you breathe well and you won't feel comfortable.
I've never seen someone who put on the shield and also put on the mask. It's only either they are putting on the shield without the nose mask. I've seen it a lot.
I think it is out of ignorance that they do that. Some people wear it as a sign of prestige. It's considered as prestigious.
But how safe is it to use face shield without wearing a face mask?
It's not correct to use your face shield without the face mask. The face shield basically provides protections for the eyes. That's the honest truth. That's where it provides protections for the eyes. But the nose and the mouth is still exposed. And so that's why we tell people, in addition to using your face mask, you might want to use a face shield. So please, people should always use both together, or the minimum should be your face mask.
Whether the face shield or mask is worn for fashion statements, experts say protection against the disease based on NCDC's protocol is key. In Calabar, Mourinho Ajom, NTA News.
And from Calabar, we'll take you to Kano, where the state government is targeting 300,000 beneficiaries in the COVID-19 palliatives distribution to the less privileged. The state deputy governor, Nasiru Yusuf Gawuna, disclosed this at the flag-off of the third round of the exercise in Kano. Abdullahi Mustafa has the details.
Against the background of the economic consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, Kano State Government inaugurated a committee for the generation of funds and in-kind donations to support the less privileged in the state. With the support of the federal government, individuals and organizations, the committee has, in the first and second rounds of the distribution exercise, covered more than 100,000 households. With more donations and support from the state government, Deputy Governor Nasir Yusuf Gawuna stated, another set of more than 100,000 households are expected to benefit in the third round of the palliatives distribution exercise. He disclosed that so far, 425 million naira has been released by the state government to the committee.
The state government has three cardinal principles when it comes to the pandemic of coronavirus. That is the preventive, curative, and the palliatives.
Chairman of the Palliatives Distribution Committee, Professor Muhammad Yahuza Bello, while giving a brief on the exercise, disclosed that items to be distributed include rice, maize flour, pasta, semolina, noodles, sugar, vegetable oil, and 2,000 naira to each household. The distribution exercise will be carried out across the 484 wards of the state. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
There's this saying that what you are looking for in Sokoto is in your Shokoto. Now, there is the outbreak of the coronavirus disease, which so far has no known cure, even though the whole world is on the search for it. The good news, however, is that with a strong immune system, one can easily survive the dreaded virus. Boosting our immune systems is what is in our Shokoto, because no one has to go far to do that. As experts in the health issues say, maintaining a balanced diet helps the immune system to fight off the virus. Joy Iloibu reports that emphasis on fruits and vegetables, which we have in abundant supply around us.
Currently, the COVID-19 pandemic is a leading health challenge across the globe today, with scientists and researchers yet to discover specific vaccine for the virus. Against this development, it is important to attain as well as maintain good nutritional status for a strong immune system to fight against the virus. With the outbreak of the pandemic, people have become more concerned than usual about staying healthy and strong, with many stocking up fruits and vegetables with a belief that it is a sure way to get vitamins and minerals needed to boost the immune system.
At this situation, people need more of fruits and vegetables. They start to stay healthy.
People will know what they eat, like fruit. They continue with fruit, vegetable. So starch is not all that necessary, but if there are this vegetable, it will be okay.
So I don't eat starchy foods before going to bed. I used to eat foods like cucumber, carrot, or at times I used to go to bed empty stomach instead of eating starchy foods in order to help myself.
With research showing that optimal nutrition as well as nutrient intake impact on the immune system, experts say a balanced diet will guarantee a strong immune system that can withstand any virus.
And helps to protect us from a lot of illness, from heart attacks, from cholesterol, and helps even in our weights. It helps a lot in our body. So I advise that we eat a lot of fruits in this period because it's even in season.
Keeping in mind that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, an important factor to consider while shopping for fruits is to shop for freshness. In Oka,
Joel Iluebu, NTA News.
Ekiti State government has received food items worth millions of naira donated by the Coalition Against COVID-19 (COVID) as palliative to support the state in cushioning the effects of the coronavirus pandemic on the people. The state governor, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, while receiving the item, said his administration will always embrace support for any corporate initiative that could bring succor to the people. Kola Adibubui reports.
Items donated include 30,000 packs of rice, 56,000 cartons of noodles, 20,000 cartons of macaroni, 28,000 bags of sugar, 20,000 bags of salt, and 28,000 bags of gari to support residents. An effort Kokavid says it is the third phase of intervention to alleviate the sufferings of millions of Nigerians, including Ekiti people.
The Kakubik National Food Relief Program, which will see the distribution of various food items to over 1.6 million families, that is, over 10 million Nigerians across the country.
Governor Kayode Fayemi, represented by the Secretary to the State Government, Abiodun Yebanji, commended Kakubik for the kind gesture, noting that the items will be judiciously distributed.
As a government, we have been proactive in tackling the effects of the pandemic and lockdowns on our people. And we have put in place a very robust and rigorous tracking and feedback mechanism to ensure that consignments get to the doorstep of beneficiaries.
The governor advocated further intervention to ease the effects of the pandemic in Ado-Ekiti. Kola Adibobwiji, NTA News.
So far, so good, just like it has been with the Nigerian Immigration Service, which has put technology on the upswing mode as it celebrates 57 years of service to the nation. Let's take a breather at this point. Thanks for staying. Renewed efforts to unsettle criminals and stop them from perpetrating their evil enterprise are yielding positive results by the Nigerian police in Rivers State. Robinson Derataide reports on a gun battle which claimed 3 lives of suspected kidnappers along Okehi-Igbodo Expressway, Eche, and the alleged rape of a widow by a police officer.
The 3 suspected kidnappers had died in a gun battle with the police in an attempt to kidnap and rob an 18-seater passenger's bus along Okehi-Igbodo Expressway, Eche local council area. According to the police public relations officer, Nnamdi Omoni, the timely response of the men of the anti-robbery squad led to the release of 9 of the passengers on board the vehicle, and they continued their journey on foot.
In a return fire, 3 of them were fatally wounded, sustained fatal gunshot wounds. They bled seriously. Before medical attention could come, they had given up. So we evacuated their corpses. About 3 others sustained life-threatening gunshot wounds, and we are still on the trail.
He added that a locally made pistol and rounds of live ammunition were recovered from the kidnappers. Similarly, the police reiterated its resolve to investigate the allegation of a widow who was raped by one Inspector Peter Eda on duty along Sakpenwa Road in Tai local council area on the 29th of July 2020. The command urged the public to remain calm as justice will prevail on the matter. In Port Harcourt, Robinson Derateide, NTA News.
Strategic to air operations across Nigeria, the 407 Air Combat Training Group, Kainji, is being prepared to receive an August visitor to further enhance these operations. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani fills us in on the August visitor.
NAV 455, the Alpha Jet, reactivated in-country in March 2020, displaying its prowess to welcome the Chief of the Air Staff on an operational visit to the 407 Air Combat Training Group, Kainji. But there is another much-awaited visitor being expected. The base is being prepared to receive the A-29 fighter aircraft, also known as the Super Tucano, expected to be a game changer in air combat operations. The Chief of the Air Staff is here to inspect the various ongoing projects, including upgrading of tech areas for indigenous innovations to enhance periodic depot maintenance of the aircraft and construction of residential quarters for the flight crew and technicians expected to escort the aircraft. Some media outlets erroneously reported that the jets had arrived. However, the air chief says to expect more than one Super Tucano sometime in 2021.
You are talking of 12 additional aircraft. That's a huge number. It will certainly make a lot of difference. We are satisfied with the level of work going on, our reactivation efforts. We are particularly happy that we have technicians there that are doing a lot of work in terms of getting more engines. What we are simply doing now is to make sure that what is required on ground here is in place, so that when the aircraft comes in, we will have people and have facilities that are required.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Air Force has commenced airlifting of medical supplies and other consumables procured by the West African Health Organization to 14 member countries of the ECOWAS, including Nigeria, to curtail the spread of COVID-19. Naja'at Tijani, NTA News.
And in compliance with the Executive Order number 5 of President Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigerian Air Force is infusing more local content in its procurement process and innovations. Awal Yusuf Jubo reports that the Nigerian Air Force is partnering with the local firm to beef up its technical efficiency, manpower and services.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a number of restrictions were imposed on air travel. These rules have affected the logistics supply chain in terms of spares, international trade, and that has driven the Chief of Air Staff, Nigerian Air Force Sadiq Baba Abubakar, to look inward and proffer lasting solutions for post-COVID-19 era.
We have partnerships with over 30 training institutions, universities, agencies of government because of their specific capabilities. Specific capabilities in terms of engineering and manufacturing that have to do with metal, telecommunications and engineering, production of enclosures, very specific areas where the Nigerian Air Force has interest.
The Nigerian Air Force also disclosed the international training courses for personnel have been suspended until the pandemic is history. In Lagos, Awal Yusuf Jubo, NTA News.
And still talking security, troops of Operation Delta Safe have neutralized 5 suspected pirates and sea robbers in a gun battle in Bayelsa State. A statement by the Coordinator Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, indicates that the troops conducted a raid operation on the pirates' camp located at Tukumbene, Ayama, Ijao local government Bayelsa State. Acting on an intelligence report, Major General Enenche notes that 3 attacking boats were sunk while their occupants escaped into the sea with bullet injuries. 3 boats and 3 AK-47 were recovered from the encounter. A similar operation at a criminal hideout along Mbiama East-West Road led to the killing of a notorious criminal suspected to be the mastermind of the killing of 5 battalion soldiers at the East-West Road. The military high command commended the troops for their gallantry and success. In the meantime, the Nigeria Immigration Service has made a commitment to become more and more technology-driven in its service to the nation. Controller General of Immigration Mohammed Babandede gave the indication while addressing senior officers in commemoration of the service 57th anniversary in Abuja. And Victor Azu has that report.
The Nigeria Immigration Service has made conscious efforts to digitize its operations. Migrant e-registration, passport application data processing system, and the migration information and data analysis system, and the list is endless. But as it appeared, coronavirus reared its devastating head and disrupted provision of physical services. Regardless, the high point of these efforts is the technology building, envisaged to be completed later this year. The project is expected to accommodate the ICT database of the Nigeria Immigration Service, with huge implications for Nigeria's internal security. Little wonder that at the commemoration of the service's 57th anniversary, the Comptroller General of Immigration, Mohammed Babandede, considers the future of the service to be digital.
Our vision is to put all our data, all our intelligence in one place, analyze and share with other law enforcement as the need may be. This building will give a remote relationship between us, other law enforcement, and the world. In this building, we can connect with all the Interpol countries. We can connect with all other law enforcement, real-time online, without being there. So the future is here.
The Comptroller General of Immigration used the platform to also tee off decoration exercise for promoted senior officers, urging them to redouble their efforts.
Do not relax. We must justify this deserved promotion.
The promoted officers are 29 Assistant Comptrollers General and 71 Comptrollers. In Abuja, Victor Azu, NTA News.
The presidency has debunked fake news that repentant Boko Haram terrorists are being absorbed into the military. Kenneth Nanim has the reaction of the presidency on the matter.
According to a statement from the presidency, there is also no plan for such absorption, and none of the 601 former Boko Haram members who voluntarily laid down their arms and graduated from the federal government's de-radicalization and rehabilitation program is going into the military, even as it is the fourth of such graduations. The presidency reassures the public that the de-radicalization, rehabilitation and reintegration of violent extremists, codenamed Operation Safe Corridor, follows an established example from countries with similar experiences, and it is supported academically and materially by the European and the United Nations. The presidency also says the lead agency for the implementation of the program in Gombe State is the International Organization for Migration, a leading intergovernment organization represented in Nigeria. The presidency points out that the program does not have a place for hard-boiled, ideological, hardened terrorists, adding that it only admits, after careful scrutiny, of repentant fighters that were captured and forced to bear arms. The presidency further advises that such certified repentant Boko Haram members be accepted in their communities and not suffer rejection. According to the presidency, the Buhari administration is a responsible one and conscious of its duty to the state, society, and to the victims of terror, as well as those who inflicted pains and losses to the people.
The compelling story of Khalifa Okashatu from Katsina is what we shall be telling next. He recently invented an excavator, an innovation that is attracting the attention of many within and outside the state. Abdul Malik Hassan has the report.
This is the story of 15-year-old Khalifa Okashatu, who constructed a prototype excavator using aluminium and syringes with water to make it functional. Young Khalifa, who is the first son of his father, has been innovative for some years in various skills, where he constructed a walking truck, a moving plane, and now a prototype excavator.
This excavator that this young boy made, he wasn't taught by anybody, but by mere seeing how this excavator works.
All I did was to go around some garage to see how it functions, and that gave me the idea on how to come up with mine.
He often comes to say to me, "Mom, look at what I've made," and I will ask, "Who taught you?" He will then say, "I just thought of it," and say to myself, "I can do it."
The parents, however, solicit the support of relevant authorities to assist the child, who has proved to have talents. Those within his community also described Khalifa as a boy with focus whose potentials cannot be overemphasized.
We know that this boy, if government intervenes in his affairs, he will develop his potentialities, inshallah. Not only the government, even individual, those that are rich, they come in to assist him.
Meanwhile, the Permanent Secretary, State Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovations, Yusuf Muazu Abubakar, said the state government is doing everything possible to identify children with such talents to empower them economically.
We have already identified him and we are trying to transfer him from the secondary school to any of our technical colleges, and the state government will support him from the secondary school up to the tertiary level.
Such is the story of Khalifa Okashatu.
Well, Khalifa indeed needs to be encouraged. Now, the new chief imam of Egbaland, Sheikh Sir Abdullahi Aladi Bangbola, has been charged to build on the legacies of peaceful coexistence and interreligious harmony in the state as established by his predecessors. The charge was part of admonition during the turbaning ceremony of the Islamic leader as the 18th chief imam of Egbaland. Mohammed Adibowale covered the event.
Sadolai Aladi Bangbola takes over the mantle of leadership as the chief imam of Egbaland following the vacuum left by the demise of late Sheikh Leadi Ormusholu. The ceremony, which was held in strict compliance with COVID-19 safety protocols, had Muslim Umar across Egbaland and beyond, including former President Olusegun Obasanjo in attendance to witness the dawn of a new era.
Very credible, important Muslim himself. And he trained in one of the best Islamic training institutions in Nigeria.
The Mufassir of Egbaland, Alhaji Taufik Amolegbe, in his sermon admonished the new chief imam to ensure that he leads with the fear of Allah and as well be ready to offer himself to further the cause of development in Egbaland. Other dignitaries enjoined the entire Muslim community in the land to support the chief imam in his quest to further deepen religious harmony in Egbaland and Ogun State in general, as Sheikh Sadulai Alade Bangbola hails from Igboro town and is the 18th chief imam of Egbaland.
We take another time out, the last for the night after